So I keep meaning to do a rig rundown of my gigging kit because I love rig rundowns, and not that you guys do, but you know, if you're watching this one, hey, here we go. Every single time, you know, I try to do this at a show where I've got the kit actually set up. I just am too pressed for time to do it, which is definitely just bad luck and not an indictment of my time management skills. So while I do have a couple of different situational kits that I'll take to different gigs, most notably my micro kit, today the one I'm going to talk about is just my workhorse, the one that I take to most shows, which you see in most of the live videos of us. And so the shell kit itself is a Ludwig Classic Maple kit, and it's actually it's a bop kit, so it's 10, 12, 14, and an 18-inch kick, but it's a bop kit that has power tom depth, so it's a little extra deep on the 10, the 12, and the 18. 14 is still kind of boxy. I think it's either 14 by 14 or 14 by 15. And they're just really great, super punchy, resonant. They tune so easily, and I can get them sounding exactly how I want them and always have a great drum sound without a bunch of fuss. And they record really great with just minimal, you know, when we record them, I've just got overheads and one in the kick typically, and that gets me a great workable sound to do our videos with. Let's see, so I will almost always leave the 12-inch rack tom at home and just play it as a 4-piece shell kit. And with that, you know, I like to center that rack tom. I have it at a pretty shallow angle, and I have it as low as I can get it, so that I have an easy pass from snare over the toms when doing fills. Just ergonomically, just keep it as close together as possible. On the kick, I use an Aquarian Super Kick as the batter head, and I want to call it the resonator. It's Aquarian's resonant head that's in the Super Kick family as the resonant head. On the toms, I use Remo Emperor Ebony suede heads, which I'm a little surprised I like them as much as I do, because they feel smooth, which normally I like some texture, but they actually play really well with brushes, and there's something about them. I just have a really easy time getting a great tom sound with those heads on, and I've tried a lot of different heads, and those are definitely, so far, my favorite heads for toms. So I have to have coating of some sort. I can't play clear heads and without my brushes just, you know, losing all their definition. Brushes sound great on these, and they're great. So, snare. The snare that I take almost always is a vintage 80s Ludwig Galaxy. It's an aluminum shell, so it is pretty much exactly the same as the acrylite, except it has this black sparkle coating. But because for whatever reason you can get them very cheaply, and it is the same drum. So it's got all the features of the acrylite that I like. So from the shell, which is the most important feature, because for me, those aluminum shell Ludwig drums are the perfect middle ground between like the warmth of a wood snare and the like power and crack of a steel snare, or steel or brass, or, you know, brass being even more pronounced kind of crack to it. So with the Galaxy, I still get a really appreciable attack and this powerful crack to it, but this nice finesse and warmth. So it's a really sensitive snare. It's super easy to tune. I can get it however I want it. It can be great with brushes. It can be great with sticks, and it has some of the Ludwig features I like, such as the internal muffle, which I use all the time and prefer over something like a Moon Gels or an external mute. And most modern snares don't have internal muffles anymore, so I wish they would. And I think Benny Greb agrees with me, because his new signature snare actually has two different kinds of muffles inside, which I haven't played one yet, but sounds very interesting. So it tunes like a champ. super sensitive, sounds awesome every single time. Very easy to get a great sound, even with just using overheads if we don't have the luxury to set up a snare mic. For the head, I swear by the Aquarian Jack DeJohnette signature head. So it's a little thicker than an Ambassador, not quite as thick as an Emperor, but its most notable feature is this very coarse, thicker than usual coating, which is phenomenal for brushwork. It's so much detail, and you can really dig in or play lightly and get a whole array of great brush sounds. And for me, that's obviously very important. I actually do a surprising amount of brushwork for. Well, I don't know if it's surprising. I do a lot of brushwork if you're seeing me play, and I love it. So that's my snare head of choice across all the snares I ever play, and it comes only in 13 and 14. So for smaller snares, I have to find something else. So let's talk about my cymbal array. So obviously the most notable feature of my kit is that I have a lot more cymbals than most drummers play. But there's definitely a method to my madness. Each one of those has a specific, reason for being there. There are specific voices and choices to kind of replicate this minimum array of ideas that I have come to embrace with my sort of my cymbal experiment of my giant studio kit. So let's talk about the array. Generally speaking, it's organized, as there are splashes up top and crashes in this sort of middle array, and they're going from left to right in increasing diameter and increasing sustain. And then I have some hats and stacks, other things that form kind of a triangle of my left, my right, and my center. So, starting all the way on the left, I play 13-inch Zildjian K Hats, and it's actually right now a K top and a Master Sound bottom, which gives me an easy, strong presence on footwork, that Master Sound fluted edge. So I have different hats that I sometimes play, but I favor ones that are ventilated or fluted, that have a little extra quick release, and I find that gives some extra volume and snap to footwork, which is, again, something that's very important for me. Right above it, directly on the stem, I mount a tiny 4-inch Paiste 2002 prototype splash on a secondary clutch, and it functions almost like a triangle or a chime, and it's an idea I totally stole from Jay Harris, who's a friend of mine and a jazz drummer around town. So moving up to my left, my accent crash is a 15-inch Zildjian A fast crash, and it's just a great hit it and quit it kind of crash with this precipitous drop into decay and real quick recovery, so that I can strike it in quick succession with clear distinction. And then above that, I've got an 8-inch Sabian Aa Splash mounted on an extender. This is a great general purpose splash. It's the only one I carried in Flip Nasty, so it's kind of my first love of splashes. It's bright and it's quick, just a little sizzle and warmth, and I especially like to have that near the hi-hat. So on the next tower to the right, I've got three things. I've got a Meinl mini tambourine that's atop an 8-inch custom stack of splash hats. It's a Saluda prototype top and an Exodus Synergy bottom. And these are both over my favorite all-purpose crash, which is a dry 16-inch Istanbul Agop Turk. So it's moody and metallic and expressive. It's got a really warm, rideable bell, and a pretty nice rideable surface, and then this very quick boiling point at the edge into this, very brief, broad flash of a crash sound. So it's a great dry crash. And that crash is super unique and versatile, and really offers a very complementary counterpoint to my ride and my other crashes, which tend to be wetter and a broader decay. But what I really like about that particular stack, with those things all next to each other, I've got this nice tight cluster of real quickly switchable ride pattern elements where I can like swiftly move back and forth between the mini hats to the Turk, like a left side ride and its bell, to the tambourine, and then cap it off with this nice quick crash. And then it's also just something that's very easy to hit off of a snare fill or off of just a quick tom strike if I just want to punctuate the end of some very quick fill. So next to this, I've got a stack of my two favorite splashes. I've got this 10-inch Sabian Ozone Splash with a 6-inch Sabian B8 splash over it. So, like I said, these are my two very favorite splashes, and they're very different from each other and get a lot of play. So the 10-inch is warm and trashy and even quicker than the Accent Crash, and it's extremely responsive to both brushes and dowels. The 6-inch, on the other hand, gives me the perfect like kissy splash. So it's just it's the only cymbal that I feel B8 alloy consistently outshines B20. I have yet to find a B20 6-inch crash that gives me this voice that I very much look for all the time. This very quick ka, high and quick and there and gone, just that little kiss of a splash. So next over, I've got a stack of two with my preferred finishing crash, which is an 18-inch Zildjian A paper thin with this great this great accent china, which is the 8-inch Zildjian Trashformer mounted right over it. So that one is just, again, quick, trashy, great accent with all the characteristics of a china, this sort of warped splash cymbal. And then below this, hanging over my floor tom, is my main stack, which is it's the Meinl Benny Greb signature 12-inch / 14-inch trash hat. So it's a 12 top and a 14 bottom, and they've got some warps. With that, I have it on a clutch, a remote mounted clutch. So no, it's not remote. I don't have a pedal for it, but a fixed clutch is, I think, what I'm saying, where by turning the clutch, I can quickly adjust how tight or loose they are, and I like them to be a little bit sloshy, but not too much. I like to hear them rattling against each other just a little bit. I'll occasionally mount a cowbell in that vicinity, just on the hoop of the bass drum. So my ride is a 22-inch Sabian Omni AAX, and I cannot say enough about Omni rides. So I think in all their sizes and all their hammered or non-hammered versions, they are the best crash rides available on the market, in my opinion. So they are a perfect 4-tool ride. So by 4 tools, I mean it's got this just proud cutting bell that can cut through everything. This great inner dry ride surface, very articulate, and then this smoky outer ride surface, and then this wafer thin crashable edge, and it's such a majestic crash just in and of itself. Most rides are not particularly crashable. This one is. It's perfectly crashable. So this is, honestly, there are times where I could just have hats and that and pretty much cover everything that I need. I'd just be doing without some things I like. So versatile, and it's so perfect in each of those jobs, and then it just has amazing responsiveness and recovery. So you can get this just incredible oceanic crash, and then half a bar later you're right back into like pinpoint riding without being overwhelmed by the wash of the continuation of the crash. And then just to the right of the ride, I like the 19-inch Sabian signature Chad Smith Holy China. It's an aerated china, so I prefer a large china that has a trashy attack and a quick decay, and that aeration helps with both those things. But this has the added bonus of being just incredibly rich under mallets. And then beneath this, if I have space at the venue, if I have enough space for one more stand, I'll set up a secondary finishing crash, and for me that's typically the 18-inch Sabian AAX Ozone crash. It's really warm, very smooth, long tail, just atmospheric and spacious and just majestic with mallets. So my backup ride is a vintage 70s Zildjian Constantinople 18-inch crash ride with rivets. It's a very versatile change of pace. These days, if I want a sizzle ride, I'll actually use like the ProMark Sizzler. It's a chain that you can quickly mount on a ride to convert it into a sizzle. But I do really like that Constantinople, and you can actually hear me play it on a really good lo-fi video of This Broken Heap that I'll link to in the thing. So that I played that on a night where I took like a minimal vintage cymbal rig, just like hats, a single crash and that, and it, it had me covered on everything I needed. So most of my hardware is unremarkable, just functional, lightweight boom stands is what I like. I do like DW hardware for my feet, so I play a DW 3000 double pedal and then a DW 3000 two-leg hi-hat stand. I like being able to move that in as close as I can. So that's it. That's my rig, and elsewhere you can see me go on far too long about what's in my stick bag. And then also I have some thoughts about just cymbal arrays in general that I'm certainly alluding to and talking about these. So yeah, thanks for sticking around this long, and take it easy.